Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show this week. We have somebody that has never been to the show before this week, and you guys know him probably very well. And he's got his own show he's been streaming, I think, almost nightly now, it seems like. But we were on the show like a few months ago, pushing Ballad of the Celestials, but we want to welcome RJ of Critical Blast.
Hey, look, it's me.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
So
great.
it's interesting being on this side of the circuit. Going on all the different shows now. It's a totally new experience.
I like it. I mean, I like going on other shows, and I think it's a lot of fun, especially with all the different formats that people run. I like to see what they do, and some people are very creative. I feel like I haven't got that down yet. Murph and I are still kind of archaic when it comes to some of the things that we do, but I feel like we're making improvements as we go. So
it's an evolutionary process.
Yeah. All right. So we want to welcome everybody to the show. We got Crazy Mad in the house. Welcome, Crazy Mad. And we got Mo Biggs. Hail, Mo Biggs. Who else do we have today? Trying to go through. I'm not seeing very many people yet.
Hail, Mo. Good to see you.
Some people pop in later.
And that was an embrace box I saw beside you there.
Wait, what's that? Oh, yes. This, I can't, well, let me grab these cards off the top.
Well, don't knock stuff over.
No, it's all good. Yes, this embrace box, I did the cover of that.
Oh, well, I did the packaging of that.
Yeah, I knew you did that. That's really cool. So, yeah, I have to display it, of course. And
that's an excellent looking cover.
Pretty proud of it. I almost won the art contest that they put on for that. But they said because they liked it so well, they had to put it on the box. And I was like, that's almost better than winning, in my opinion. So I liked it a lot. Okay, so let's get into the question of the week. Crazy Matt asks, would you rather take over Marvel or take over DC? And what title would you most want to work on for that company? Ooh. Good question.
I know the first half of that answer is easy for me.
Well, let's hear it. What do you have to say?
I'm taking over DC.
Okay. Ooh, this is a tough one for me because I feel like I'm more familiar with DC than I am Marvel, but I love them both. So I would probably want DC more than Marvel. So there's that half of the answer. And what title would you most want to work on for that company?
It would be the Crisis title that I kick off when I take it over because I'm raising it all to the ground. We're starting day one. It's Superman. It's Batman. They're both just starting. And that means it's going to be 4 years before you see Robin. And he'll be Dick Grayson and he'll be 13. So all you Nightwing fans just suck it up.
Okay. I like that. Man, I love that. And I love those characters so much. Man, that's a great way to restart. I think for me, the title, what would I want to take over? I'd want to take over Superman for sure.
Oh yeah.
Talk about a character that has been misunderstood, poorly written over decades, not just over a few years.
Joe Quesada said it best.
What'd he say?
He said about DC Comics, he's like, they've got Superman and they don't know what to do with him. It's like being a porn producer with an 8-inch unit and not being able to use it.
Yes. That's very true. It's like, you have pretty much the greatest superhero of all time and you don't know what to do with him. It's ridiculous to me. So Mo says DC and bringing back Red Hood and the Outlaws. Okay.
That was a good series.
Yeah, it was. I like the Red Hood too. I think that's a great part of the lore for Batman.
If I can't get George Perez back to do New Teen Titans with Marv Wolfman, I'll settle for Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yeah, that's true. Never get George Perez back, but man,
no,
what a great legacy. Marvel, and I'd immediately fix the X titles.
I don't know how you fix the X titles except one way. I see one way to fix the X titles, and that's some sort of event comic, because it'll be like Armageddon. The movie Armageddon, where it's like the
Right.
great big asteroid is coming and nobody knows what to do about it. Well, that'll be it. There's a great big asteroid coming and nobody knows what to do about it. Everybody panics. Everybody tries to stop it. And then it stops. And it's a big rock from the Shi'ar Empire. And on it, in suspended animation, are the X-Men from 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's been an infiltration of mutants, fake mutants, since that point forward.
Well, I'm sure there's a way to explain why they regrow right now, right? Like what villain would have the ability to regrow the X-Men? So I'm sure there's somebody out there that could have it. Yeah,
high evolutionary would do it.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense, and you could actually like correct the course, hopefully. Mo says I just reboot to Rebirth before it ended prematurely when Bendis came.
Oh, yes. You know what I would do if I got to do Rebirth, because Rebirth, when I saw that first issue, I got 14-year-old geek excited. I mean, I was giddy online. I was like, "That's the smiley face! It's the Watchman!" And the thing is, I had this theory, and I had it for a while, and I believe, and I talked with Ethan Van Sciver about this, and he was kind of cagey about what he knew, but I believe this is true. I believe that because Jeff Johns is a master at finding little hanging plot threads in a universe that nobody's doing anything with, and weaving them together in such a way that people look at it and say, well, of course, it had to be that way.
Right.
He did it with James Robinson on Hawkman, where all of a sudden Hawkman made sense with all the reincarnations. He did it with the Green Lantern Rebirth, with the Flash Rebirth. I believe he was going to do this. And you can kind of tell when you read Doomsday Clock, you get halfway through it and it just totally goes off kilter. Because look at all the stuff that was going on in that book. If this had been under Julia Schwartz regime, there would have been a Doomsday Clock banner on every major book out there, and these events would have been spilling over.
Yes.
They didn't copy over anywhere, so it was almost like it was just a standalone, not really happening kind of thing. We contracted Jeff, get the story done. I think Jeff was going to go and take that Green Lantern number 40 scene where Krona opens up the universe and sees back in time and sees that pale electric blue hand holding a fistful of stars, and tie that over to the whole "I think I'll create some human life now" scene. Because did you read Doomsday Clock, or did you pass that? I did
not. I was out at that point, so no, I'd never read it.
Well,
but I love The Watchmen, and I love Alan Moore. So
so you've read Watchmen.
Yes.
So you know that Dr. Manhattan's very big on I can't change time. I'm just a puppet who can see the strings.
Right.
Throughout Doomsday Clock, he's changing time. He's going back in time and pushing things out of reach of people, so that Alan Scott doesn't become the Green Lantern, JSA doesn't form. Superman keeps arriving at different eras, and if he can't travel in time, then I believe that not only did Dr. Manhattan create the DC universe, but every time he realizes it's not right, he destroys it and starts it over again. And when he gets to these certain points, he changes it. So it's like, no, start over. Okay, we're here now. I'm going to do this thing a little bit different. So all of those universes contiguously have been linear to him.
Okay. I mean, and that's if you want Watchmen to be actually in the DC universe. I know that it was made by DC.
He went out and created his own universe.
Right. But I kind of like that being a standalone. It's its own thing, not part of anything that has to do with the normal DC
so
canon.
Does Alan Moore.
Yeah, I like it outside of that because I think that's what it's best for. Everything that Alan Moore was trying to preach, I guess, in the book kind of fits best with that. And it doesn't mess with anything. Now, I love the characters. I think, Rorschach was definitely somebody that could have had a lot of popularity if they would use him well.
Well, they killed him, and then they did the Tom King Rorschach, which was let's not go there.
Right. Yes.
If that didn't kill the Watchmen franchise, nothing would.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like I almost want to see it not touch DC at all, but that's because I have a love for what it was, and I kind of like it just being that. But whatever. I mean, I think it's great that they kind of expanded those characters. But yeah, I see what you guys mean, because it didn't quite go the way that everybody wanted it to.
Yeah. Well, Alan Moore got a sweetheart deal out of that. I mean, as much
Oh,
as
yeah.
we look at it and say, oh, it's so wrong that DC never let the book go out of print, because that was the deal. It goes out of print and the characters go to him,
Yeah.
because they never foresaw the trade paperback market at that time. He's still getting first print royalties on those books. He's not getting reprint royalties. He's cashing fat checks.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, smart on his move. You know what I mean? If that's what he's doing.
Frank Miller's the same way. Frank Miller was the most highly paid Batman writer in 1990, and he didn't make any Batman comic books in the 1990s.
Right.
Because he was making it all off of Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. Yep.
And
dividends, man. And, you know, I wish you could see artists getting what some of those writers got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one thing that I always thought was that now Frank Miller is an artist, so he got that, but you don't see many artists getting what the writers get, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there's no royalties in art. You sell the page.
Yeah, that's
with
it.
With the license agreement that, you know, they get to use it for publication.
Yeah. Arrogant Ape, thanks for coming in. He says Dr. Manhattan's very big. Yes, at times and in certain places. Oh boy. Mo, have you gone cross-eyed yet?
Well, we're talking Watchmen, not Weebery. Now that's what they need to do. Man. A manga Watchmen. Yes, let's pull that one off.
Ooh. Anime. I could see an anime. That would be great. I'd watch an anime of Watchmen. So everybody, I want to give an update real quick on Ballad of the Celestials. And, you know, I just want to get everybody up to date on some of the art and where we're at with the book. Everything's going very well right now. So I just wanted to do that. I know Murph's not here, but I'm going to show a few things that, you know, I think that it's okay to show. No spoilers, don't worry. And to the point we were just making, I'll just cover this real quick. Crazy Mad says, well, to be fair, the writers are the most important. You're right. I mean, most of the time they're creating the characters and they're creating the story. So I would agree with you on that. But I'm going to share this with you guys, if you don't mind. And you can see, this is our little graphic that we put up on the campaign. And it shows where we're at in the status of the book, in the production of the book. So all line art is complete for Ballad of the Celestials. Pencils and inks, 100%. Colors, 80%. We are only expecting 5 more pages back for coloring. And that's it. And then we're going to be off to letters for Eric Weathers. So we're in a good spot right now. I'm hoping to get those 5 pages back within a couple weeks. And I think if we get everything back by mid-July and we can get letters done very quickly, and I know he's pretty quick, then we're looking to fulfill on time, like we said, which was hopefully in August. Now, I think on the campaign we put October, but that's because we really wanted to shoot out, 10 months from when we launched. But it really helps to get the work done, and it's been great. I took a couple weeks off. I was off this week. I was off last week, pushing some art, putting some final touches on things. And one of the things that I did was, we got done with the playing card. So this is the playing card that you guys will see in the book that the Celestials play with. You will see it on some pages, and it was actually going to be on the back of the metal card that everybody's going to receive. We don't know yet if Phoenix can do double-sided metal right now. He lost his vendor, and he said he may or may not be able to do double-sided, but we are going to get the one side with Mare. Just not sure he's going to be able to do two-sided yet. So just the metal card, and then I hope everybody likes this. And we have Heroinberg in the house. Look at that.
Hey, Heroinberg.
RJ and Dirk, so many great comics coming our way this year. Yes, we've had a lot of good comics come out this year. So many I can't even back them all. It's kind of frustrating me because I would love to be able to back some of these books.
Yeah. Yeah, I've looked at my bank account. I'm like, oh my God, did I do what?
Yeah, I now I do. There are a few that I've been hitting to make, and wanted to make sure that I have to hit them because I love them. But then there's others where I'm like, oh man, I want that one so bad, and I've had to take a pass on it for now because finances. So just the way it is. Okay, so that's the trading card or playing card. Um, then we have a new imprint logo, Mysterion Comics. So this will be on the corner of our comic book, Mysterion Comics. And this is our new imprint. I just finished this yesterday, so I'm really proud of this. Now it's just Mare, but I think what we're going to do is change characters on it every time. And it'll always have some kind of flash like that. And it'll be in that kind of style for a while until we decide to change it. But I think it goes well with what we're trying to achieve. So,
Now, are you going to LLC that, or is that just an imprint underneath another LLC?
We want to LLC Mysterion.
Okay.
We haven't got that far, but that is on the agenda.
That's one of the cool things that's happening now, is that it's no longer just Bill and Ted make a comic. It's Bill and Ted make a comic company.
Yeah. Yep, it's true. And for me, it's like the whole idea is that yes, we're going to launch and get Ballad off the ground, but we want to do some other things too. I mean, we want to make several comics, have different stories. Kevin has, several other stories that he would like to get off the ground as well. And I would love to be able to have a team of people that we're talking to and making those move, where we're just running maybe the campaigns, So that is going to be down the road. And eventually, I mean, I would like to do most of the art direction. I don't even know if I'm going to be penciling a whole book, once we get the ball rolling.
Oh, you're going to John Malin it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the game plan, man. That would be what I would love to do.
That's the definition of mailing it in now.
Yeah.
Have somebody else draw your book.
I mean, why not? If you can manage it and get everything done, why not? You're approving the art. Now, I would still want to do covers. I would want to do art, for things. But I think I guess the goal would be to not have to put out 5 books or something like that. You know what I mean? Myself, I would rather just let other people work on that, and I'll handle other things. So. Crazy Man. So those are rookie numbers. We need to pump that up.
Absolutely. I hope he's talking about your book.
Yeah. What are you talking about, Crazy Man? Let me show you what this will look like on the cover of Ballad of the Celestials, and then I'll be done sharing. So there you go. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Looks nice. I think it puts a nice finishing touch on the book. We're probably going to put our names down at the bottom or something like that. Or maybe at the top above the title. Haven't made up our minds yet how that'll go. But once we get that done, we're well on our way. So very proud of this stuff. And I'm happy that it's finally coming to a close. Like we're feeling accomplished. Like you have those little details just knocked out. And now we can move on to more important stuff, like drawing part 2. So, okay. So, had a few people join. Did we? Comics Mate. Hey, good day, Dean. Thanks for joining in. The amount of books you back is what I was referring to. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's true, man. I am pretty rookie at backing some books, that's for sure. My numbers are pretty low.
I haven't counted mine. I go to my contributions page every once in a while, and I don't have that many things on it that are actually like unfulfilled or super late. But the ones that I do have, Paul Jenkins' Fairy Tale, I'm like, okay, this is inexcusable. And you don't ever hear about that book being late because it's Paul Jenkins.
Yeah, right. Well, there's just certain things that you have to do, you know what I mean, that you have to get. So, but I don't know, man. I've been so tied up in getting some of this stuff done because I'm on vacation and I'm trying to get work done, that's where my focus has been. I haven't really been focusing on anything outside. I haven't even got into chats on shows. I haven't been really jumping into anything at all. So I feel so out of touch right now, which is really funny.
Well, you start going to other shows, it's like a rabbit hole. It's
Yeah.
I'm going to sit down to work, but let me check and see who's streaming right now. And then 6 hours later,
that's it. Gone. I mean, and I won't get work done. So I had to really focus and get this done. And I feel like, we're in a good spot. We're just in a really good spot right now. So I have a little bit more work to do. And then I think we're pretty much on our way. So let's get talking about your stuff.
Okay.
So where would you like to start first?
The books. Okay. Yeah, sure. Wow. So, because like we have so many things going on. It's like Critical Blast was supposed to be just a website. And now it's like we got a publishing outlet. We've got the logistics outlet. I do the consulting for IT.
Oh, that's awesome.
For people's campaigns. It's we're all over the place. And if I find something new I can put the brand on, I will.
Yeah.
But so about 4 years ago, I had worked with enough publishers as an author. I've written for a publishing outfit in the UK called Telos, which used to have the Doctor Who franchise before the BBC went back to making films with Christopher Eccleston and such. And they had published my Alice's Journey Beyond the Moon. And I saw that they had this other franchise called Time Hunter, which was a spin-off of Doctor Who. So I sent in something with that, and that got published. Just started doing some work with the Destroyer folks, the Remo Williams, did a couple of books with those. And I'm like, oh, this publishing thing's a lot easier than writing. I'm gonna go into the editing and publishing business.
Right.
I got paid a lot more as a writer. But about 4 years ago, we did our first anthology called Gods and Services. And it was just this idea I had of the little pop-up shop. You go in, it's got, it's a junk store, kind of like Needful Things, but not that cursed. But anything you buy there has a god attached to it, a retired one, a disused one. The one hadn't been, thought of in a while. And now because you've made an offering of cash, it's obliged to make your life better, whether you want it to or not, and whether you think it's better or not. And of course, the pop-up store is gone if you try to find it again. That being our first venture, it was like pulling teeth to get a good set of 10 stories for that book.
Oh, wow.
So we paid the writers. And we got, there was cash and there was a copy of the book. So when we went to do the next book, which was The Devil You Know, I said, I'm giving myself an extra 2-month reading window. We're going to widen this thing up because I don't want to be, at the last minute thinking about what we're going to have to actually pull in and accept. We had 10 good stories, thankfully, last time, but I was getting nervous. So I opened it up. And a funny thing is, when you've actually done it once and you've come through on it and you've paid everybody, we had 175 submissions come in for The Devil You Know.
Oh, wow.
And it was, this time the hard part about finding 10 stories was there were too many. So we did 20. We did a book of 20 stories. And when the art design people came in with the book cover, I'm like, save that art, boys. We're going to reuse that. So that was about 1.5 years ago now. So this is where we are now with The Devil You Know Better.
All right.
It's already in paperback on Amazon. So, if that's
very cool.
If that's your thing, you can do that. But I wanted to do an Indiegogo to sort of offset the cost and sort of make a special print of this. Okay. So what you get on Indiegogo is the same 20 stories that are in the second book. It's about an inch taller and an inch wider. So it's about 300 pages instead of the 360 that the paperback is. And not only is it hardcover with a dust jacket, but it's going to be signed. It's going to be signed by Mike Barron, who has a story in there.
Okay.
And it's going to be signed by Hart Fisher, who also has a submission in there. So,
very nice.
And they're going to be numbered. They'll be printed to order, and they will be numbered. One of X, 2 of X, 3 of X. And it's the simplest campaign in the world. It's got one tier, the book. The only, competitive thing on it is the stretch goals. So,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
the
that's
stretch
cool.
goals, yeah, we've I didn't know of this person until he was recommended to me. And then after I talked with him, he started showing up on other people's campaigns. I'm like, oh, I'm getting this guy early. Stefano Cardacelli. He's done some covers for people, and he's done 2 pieces so far for this book, for 2 different stories.
Okay.
And the idea is that for every $500 barrier we cross, he's going to illustrate one of the stories with a page of artwork. So he's done 2 because
Nice.
we're hoping in advance that we get to use both of those. But ideally, we'll get to illustrate all 20 stories, which would put us at the $10,000 mark. That might be a pipe dream, but why the hell not? Come on, dream
Yeah.
big, guys.
Yeah, you got to. Okay, so this is mainly, it's just written form, like a traditional book, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
then he's
not a
going
graphic
to,
novel.
okay, and then he's going to put one illustration like for each chapter or for each story, right?
Right there
Okay.
at the very front, right before the title of the story, there'll be a full-page illustration representing that
Nice.
story.
I always love getting that. Like, I know Stephen King has done that several times in his books. I love seeing that kind of stuff. They were
wanted
doing
to
it.
do it glossy.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he did it for the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
And man, I love the art for that. It was so good. And I'm not talking about the comic book. I'm talking about the actual, book.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a great idea. So very nice.
I've got some antique books at home that have like these color plates in them, and it's like it's not even like a glossy page insert, but it's like a piece of cardboard that a picture was glued onto and was embedded into the book at that page break there.
Okay.
But I talked with printers. I'm like, this is what I want. It's going to be this many pages of text, and then up to 20 illustrations on glossy. So silk on the text, glossy on this. And he's like,
Sure.
dude, you could buy a car for less money than it would take to print this book.
Really?
Yeah, they said it was eye-wateringly expensive was the phrase that they used. They said if it's black and white illustration, just print it on the silk on the silk pages. Like, okay. So there was thoughts of color. Those thoughts of color evaporated.
Wow. And it makes you wonder why they can't do that.
Well, they can. It's just that it's very, very expensive, and to collate those glossy pages, like we've all seen the books where, in fact, I've got one right here, Sleuthfoot by Brom, brilliant artist and great storyteller, and he always does paintings of the characters for his book, but they're all right here in the middle of the book. They're not scattered throughout it. So
yeah.
They said
So it makes it
a lot
easier.
easier to do.
Right.
But that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right. That just seems so crazy that it seems like a simple idea is what I'm getting at. You wouldn't think it would take that much effort. So
Yeah, and it's not like we haven't seen books that do it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
The printing industry has gone through a sea change, and not a good one, since the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they have paper now, right?
Yeah, supposedly. I can never figure out why. I was like, the trees didn't get sick.
Yeah.
If anything, we grew more of them because the lumberjacks were sick.
Well, and I know some people are still struggling with, with papers, with getting paper or the printers getting the paper.
Yeah.
Let's put it
Well,
that
apparently
way.
the paper mills were mom and pops. Most of the paper mills were mom and pop agencies, and they went out of business because they couldn't go to work.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense for a little while, but you'd think some of those businesses, I don't know, you think they
Open
would
back
take
up.
that stuff on. But
Sell it. Even if you went out of business and went bankrupt yourself, sell it to somebody now and open it back up.
Right. Okay. So let's go through the campaign. So what are you selling? You pretty much told us that.
Yep, it's a book.
So let's go to the
heavy
hardcover. Let's talk about the hardcover. So it's going to be signed by Mike Barron and Hart Fisher.
Yes, and what that is? You're looking at the rightmost portion of that block. That's the what do they call it? That's the signature plate. So what we're going to do is we're going to mail the signature plates to Mike and then to Hart. It's going to just kind of do a big loop and come back around to me. And then I'm going to affix those to the inside covers of the books. And then on the editor page, I'm going to sign my name under the editor. And then I'm going to write the numbering, 1 of X, 2 of X. And they're going to go in order to the backers. So, if you were the very first backer of a physical item, you will get the very first physical book.
Nice. That is really cool. So how many people wrote stories for this? Was it just 2 or 3 people, or
it's 20 unique people.
20 unique people. Wow.
Yeah, there's no duplication.
Wow, that's awesome.
And they run the gamut. You've got your science fiction stories, you've got your horror stories, you've got your gore stories, you've got your comedies, and from light to hard on all of those things. We even had folk tales on the last one. It was it's basically one premise that they were asked to work with, and from there just do what you want, and that is somebody meets the devil.
Okay, I like that. I like that premise.
And you can go.
There's
Faust,
so many routes.
Devil and Daniel Webster.
Yeah, there's so many routes to go, and I think I know somebody who was kind of feeling this pretty heavy tonight was, feeling like things are against you, and it's the devil, and sometimes it's better than the devil you don't, right? And
exactly. Well, and you see that cover there, which is behind the signature portion of the plate there. I mentioned when I got the cover for the original, I said, hold on to the art, boys, because it was just this fist holding the contract, the contract for your soul. And when I saw it immediately, I was like, oh, we're going to do a second book.
Right.
And yes, we're going to do The Devil You Know Best. and we'll figure out that. But I'm like, don't throw that artwork away, boys. You're going to have to modify it.
Yeah, it's great. I really like the premise though, because, me and Murph talk about this all the time, is that, you're not always against flesh and blood. You know what I mean? It's against the principalities and all that stuff. And that stuff kind of comes up, and we're just like, you don't always see the forces that are against you, but sometimes you got to overcome it. You got to push through and persevere. And I feel like a lot of things on this book, we've had to persevere and push, and look at where we're going right now. I mean, we're almost there. And so even though it's been long and arduous, it's been a good ride. So
say your goals out loud too, because if you're a believer in powers and principalities, that lets them hear it. They can't read your head.
Oh yeah, man.
They can put stuff in there, but they can't read what's already there.
Right. But yeah, it's been a great thing. So these stories go all over the place, and I like the idea of that. So did your first book do like you felt like it was a success to be able to do a part 2?
Well, yeah, the first of this particular anthology set, it was okay. I don't think I made back quite all the money I put into it.
Okay.
Considering that there was the money for the ISBN, the money for the submission, the money paid to the authors, and that's really pretty much it. The money paid for the cover, it was the cover was a Fiverr design, so I went cheap, obviously, but I still picked a design I liked.
Yeah.
But it's all told, I probably spent about $650, $700 just making the book happen.
Sure.
And then ordering copies. Yeah, probably a full 1,000 by the time I ordered the author copies and other copies for conventions and stuff. Direct from the publisher. I'll be happy if that happens again here. Again, like I said, this has already been done. These authors have also already been paid. This book has already also been published. I just wanted to do a hardcover version, and just to see what it would be like to do it. We've done hardcover books before. In addition to the 3 anthologies we talked about, we also did a novel written by Stephen J. Mitchell called Bulletproof. Bulletproof
Okay.
Origin for a full title. And it was a superhero YA novel about a 16-year-old kid who his dad kind of worked on him when he was an infant, and he wakes up on his 16th birthday and he's bulletproof.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, he's heavily afflicted with ADHD. He has the attention span of a ferret on pixie sticks. So his friends have to keep him focused
Right.
so that he doesn't, like get caught by these terrorists who are after him for the secret of being bulletproof.
That's fun. Yeah, that's the way it is at 16, right? Everybody's bulletproof. So, yeah. And the only reason I was asking, because you just don't see many people doing books. I've heard of a few people in our community that are doing books, traditional books. And I like the idea of it, because I feel like sometimes some of that material can be used down the road. You could make comic books out of it.
Oh, absolutely. I've got several stories that I've thought about having converted into either comic books or even children's books.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of a middle ground, because, the illustrated children's book is almost a graphic novel, but not quite.
Mm-hmm. That's something you don't see very much either, is people doing a children's book. And there's a lot of ideas to be had in there, and I think it's really cool to see kind of people branching out into some other realms, because, it'll just bring more people in, because once they know some of these people also write comic books, and they also draw comic books, and they also, it just makes that community grow so much bigger. And I love the idea of the expansion of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we've seen some comic book creators go into the realm of pulp. I know that there are some people doing some pulp magazines, and that's all text with a couple of full page or spot illustrations. But
sure, that makes sense. I mean, look at Conan. Look at some of those
The
old
Shadow,
pulp
all
works.
those great ones.
Mm-hmm. I think it's great that they're doing that again. Okay, so you got stretch goals. So what else can you do for us? You've got stretch goals, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us
and
about
this beautiful graphic here, which is being so underutilized because I'm not really promoting the campaign, I guess, in the best way or to the right people all the time.
Yeah.
This was designed by Nefarious and the Global Frequency Channel.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's Dante's 9 Circles of Hell. So as we progress deeper, we'll start replacing those little black squares with representations of the art that will be earned at each level.
Oh, nice. I love it. That is really cool.
And I don't know, maybe $500 for each one was a little too audacious. Maybe I should have said, hey, for every $250, but it's there now. I guess I could always change stretch goal levels, couldn't I? That's not like
I would change them. I wouldn't worry about it. Murph and I, that's what we did. We set it, and then we were like, you know what? We're not making as much as we thought. We're just going to adjust. I mean, what's it going to hurt? It just means people are going to get their stretch goals quicker. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really don't see a problem with that. I think it's great that you have this, and that the art is part of the stretch goals, because, I think it's worthy of the book. And it's something that makes the book that much more of an experience. Exactly. And I would rather see stuff, like this in the stretch goals on campaigns anyway.
And this book it's going to be printed to order. So it's, if I'm going to round it up, obviously, a little bit to like the nearest 10 or the nearest 20, just to have safety stock in case there's, a damaged book gets to somebody.
Yeah.
But this isn't going to be something where I'm going to be sitting at a table at conventions with hardcover books around me. If we crowdfund, 35 books, I'll probably order 40 or maybe 50. But it's going to be extremely limited.
Okay.
Unless, we get to the $10,000 mark, in which case, there'll be however many books that is at $25 a pop.
Well, you never know. I didn't even know you guys were launching anything. So
yeah, and that was a month ago. Yeah. We're on our second 30 days now. I just
oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, the word is going to have to be out there. You know, we're going to have to get this,
Well,
get that out.
I didn't pre-launch it very long,
Okay.
and maybe I should have. I did put it in pre-launch. I did start announcing that it was out there, and then somebody said, "Well, when are you going to launch it?" And I was like, "Well, let me look at the calendar." And this was end of May, very late in May, and I looked at the next week. I'm like, "Oh, I know exactly when I'm going to launch it," because June was right there, and the 6th was a Monday, and I think it was a Monday. I don't know. Whatever day the 6th was the same day that the boys at the CGUK Bargain Bin do their show. So I reached out to Aria Black and I was like, "Hey, can I do a show with you guys at 6 o'clock GMT?" And they're like, "Well, it's like an hour earlier than our usual slot, but yeah, sure. We like you. We'll help you out." So yes, on 6/6 at 6, we launched this book. And it cursed it.
I was going to say, man, that seems kind of creepy.
Well, it just seemed like it was. I wish I'd thought of it like 3 weeks earlier instead of just like that day. Launch it. Well, I couldn't launch it any sooner because we do the logistics and the consulting thing. So one of our clients that we offer a service to is a Pedro Eng, who's doing tropical magics.
Yep.
Well, he's in Panama, and Panama is verboten to Indiegogo. You can't run one there. So we ran it for him. So we technically had an open campaign that wasn't ours. We were proxying it for him. So I couldn't launch because you can't have two of them. Until he went in demand, it was we were sort of up at a roadblock. Sure. And we were ready to go. I mean, the book's done.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's great that it's done. So you have this posted on Amazon, you said? It's already, like, the paperback is on.
The paperback's on Amazon. Been there for a month. In fact, if you scroll up just a little bit more into that other ways you can help, the link to the Amazon page is right there.
Right there it is. Okay,
you decide you don't want the hardcover. The Amazon book, I think, is like $17.99 for the soft cover. I did, analysis on what it was going to cost to order the hardcovers from our printer. I was like, oh, I could put this at $25, real easy. I think $25 for a 300-page hardcover is pretty much industry standard, if not cheaper than industry standard.
Okay.
And still make a little bit of money. And
300 pages is a lot.
It's a thick book.
That's good.
It's 308 pages if we get all 20 art pieces in there. Which is technically 40 more pages because you got to count both sides of the piece of paper. So it's going to be between 260 to 300 pages. But all the money that is left over after publishing, after sending all the distribution around, basically once all the costs are taken out, anything that's left over is being split 20 ways with the contributors of the book. Because I think that they should, if I'm making money off of their backs, then that should be, they should get some sort of a bonus for that.
Sure.
Now, I don't want to have to get my tin snips out and try to cut that nickel in pieces. I'd rather it be like, hey, here's, a couple of bills at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have to push it out there and get the word out because, once again, I had no clue. And I think, if more people knew about it, I think they'd be interested. I think it's great. Especially seeing, some big names in there. Mike Barron. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, see, that's something I did even with Gods and Services from the very beginning because running Critical Blast and having 15 years prior experience with thetrades.com where I worked for somebody else, I didn't own the site. I've made all these inroads with Simon & Schuster and with Scholastic and all these other publishers, and I know the authors. I've, reviewed their books. I've interviewed them directly.
Very cool.
I reach out to them and say, with Gods and Services, I reached out to John Delarose. I reached out to David Peterson, who's done the Angst series, wonderful series. If you loved the Dragonlance series by Weiss and Hickman, read Angst. You'll love it. And Ira Bloom, who had a big hit with Scholastic called Hearts and Other Body Parts. And I was like, hey, we're doing this, little venture. It doesn't pay a whole lot, but, would you contribute? Here's the theme. And they did. And what that's done for all of our anthologies is I reach out to try to get, new writers, people who are talented, but who are like, trying to get that first slot so that when they get published, they can say, hey, I'm published. But not only that, I'm published with these people.
definitely.
you know, I was good enough to be in this book with them. And the cool thing is that I see these authors now showing up in other places. And I was like, yeah, I knew you when. So, you know, it's a good stepping stone, because you get those first publications in, and you get a little bit of a guild by association, so to speak.
Right.
Then you can start talking with agents, and you can say, hey, yeah, I've got a publishing history. I'm, rubbed shoulders with, metaphorically, and you get those doors opened up.
Yeah, I think that's great. We got Good Stuff Comic Skater in the house. Thanks for showing up, man. Yes, Murph looks much different tonight in the form of RJ. And Murph couldn't be with us tonight, but that's okay. He'll make it back next week. We'll be all good to go. So, Crazy Man says, I got to be honest. Without Murph, we don't get enough mind-numbing takes to comment on.
I can do that. I can have some mind-numbing takes. I'll be happy to.
Oh man, what were you gonna say, RJ? Seemed like you had something you were trying to get out there.
No, I was saying I can have some mind-numbing takes. I just noticed his comment out there. I figured I drove half your chat away when I went off on my little Watchmen rant. And you
know what? I want to get into some shows where we're going to break down some characters and stuff again. We were doing that a little bit with Kemosabe, and we were having so much fun with him doing that. And I think we want to get back into it again, where we were talking about some misunderstood characters, kind of like what I was saying about Superman, and talking about where we're at with Superman, what you get right now versus what we used to get and what we would like to see, and talking about those differences. And I think it makes for a great show. And we had a lot of people interacting with us when we did that at one point. So I think we want to get back to it. So if you want to do that sometime,
I'd be happy to. Speaking of Kemosabe, if you...
Oh, what?
Yeah, you hit the wrong button.
I did hit the wrong button. Meant to hit solo. There you go.
If y'all didn't get this is what we're preparing to ship out, the last of these. We're holding on to these until his closeout stream, which is coming up soon here, guys. And then we're going to mail all these last ones out of the company men. So
awesome.
If you backed it and you haven't got it yet, it's coming. We're just
nice. I did back
trying to get them all out at once.
And it was a great package. And I think the Company Men was a very well done book. And can't wait for the next one to come out. So it's going to be great. Crazy Matt says, no one does it like Murph. Yeah, we have a lot of fun with Murph on the show. That's for sure. But that's okay. Today, we're just pushing forward.
And we have had a backer, by the way, since the start of the show.
Oh, really?
Your screen, which
back. Let's go up.
So I'll have to go into my email afterwards and see who that was. But thank you very much, whoever that was. You're at 318 there, and
that's awesome. 11 backers, nice. Oops, I had something pop up there. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
I love to see that. Wonderful. Thanks, guys. I think that's awesome to see, and that's why we're doing this. We're trying to push the books. Murph and I shill a lot of people with books, but it's our chat kind of comes and goes, at different times, and so it's been nice. It's really nice when we can see somebody get a backer. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah, I've got a special video clip that I run every time that happens. It's our shake and bake moment, I call it, and I've got this little 10-second clip of a 1970s shake and bake commercial where it's the little girl with her grandmother. She's like, "It's shake and bake, and I helped." So awesome. I love when I get to hit that.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we've had a little bit of lore ourselves, and we're starting to grow, which is nice. And that's what you got to do. You got to keep it going. Thank you guys for doing that. Let's get some more in there if we can. So,
because we like to read. We like to read comic books, but generally people who like to read comic books like to read books, and they're frequently fantasy and science fiction. And that's you're gonna. We have stories in here that are set in a noir setting where a private detective's been hired to find this mysterious person who's shown up in all these photographs. We have a science fiction tale where somebody is sent to a salt mine planet where people have been leaving the pits screaming. And it's and of course we've got the heavy metal band that sold their soul for rock and roll.
Right.
Um,
It's got to be the Crossroads classic, right?
yes, always.
Gotta love it. I mean, that is a great classic story. So
Robert
it'll
Johnson.
it'll always be something that's told from time
Yeah.
to time.
Now,
So.
the funny thing is, the reason why I did The Devil You Know wasn't because it was just so that I could do another anthology, but because I had a short story that I'd been working on forever, sitting there dormant on my computer, called The Devil You Know.
Okay.
I was like, hey, you know what? If I had an anthology coming out, that would prompt me into, finishing this thing, and I'll put it in my own anthology because, I can, because, editors do that all the time.
Right.
And I didn't get it in.
Oh, no.
And I didn't get it in the second book. So,
oh, man.
so I've got one more shot at this thing to finish that
That's
story.
right.
Maybe
That's
it'll
right.
be the last story in the last of the three.
Oh, that's funny. And then you're going to want to write more for it, probably.
Well, yeah, of course. I've got to totally rewrite the thing now because it was going to be novella length, and I'm like, no, that's overreach. It would make a great short story. I just got to revise it and give it a trim, chisel off some of the rough edges.
So, do you think anthologies work better in traditional book form better than they work in comic book form?
I think they work fine in both. It's just a matter of the quality of the stories.
Okay.
I've seen some anthology comics come out, and the reason why the ones that fail, in my mind, fail is because they don't have a cohesiveness. They're just a collection of stories.
Sure.
There's
There's
nothing
no
tying them
theme.
together.
Yeah.
No theme. They don't have to be interconnected. But,
Right.
I grew up reading anthology comics all the time. DC was the master of them. I mean, not just the DC Blue Ribbon Digest things that would come out once a year was like, the top 10 stories or the top 10 Christmas stories or, detective stories. But the monthly basis, they had Ghosts, Tales of the Unexpected, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, Witching Hour. Just like there were all these horror stories. Like the old EC stuff, but I was, too young to read the old ECs. I wasn't there then. So yeah, there's totally a market for short story collections and comics.
I think that's great. The one thing that I've seen with anthologies is just people say, well, it's a fantasy, and then they'll do an anthology of fantasy. But I'm going, but why are they all together in an anthology? What? Yeah. Why? I think that's the point. And if they have a theme, I think it's great. There's some tie, and then there's an interest too, because you're like, okay, that's The Devil You Know is just one sentence, but what can you do with that one sentence?
Exactly.
And I think that's a really cool thing. I've had ideas popping off just thinking about this book. Was just, have you thought about doing prints? Like, if you get the art and you're not going to put it in the actual book, have you thought about just making prints for the book?
I did. I've only got 2 pieces of art. I haven't paid for 20.
Sure.
Because I was pay as you go sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
And I did think hey, if we get all 20 of them, then as an additional bonus at that $10,000 mark, I would have printed larger size prints and included them in an envelope to go along with the book. If we get there, I would definitely consider that.
Yeah, because
I've got to see more momentum here first.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you for that at all. I was just trying to think around that publishing problem, with them saying they can't make the book the way you want it. I was like, well,
yeah,
what if?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the first things I thought. Because I've got somewhere in a box set aside all these folios that I collected in the 80s and the early 90s. Most of them DC. I've got the George Perez Batman folio. I've got the Watchmen folio, which has got like all 12 of the covers, all 12 of the promotional posters, and all 6 of the French comic book covers. Because in France, they were published 2 at a time in a single volume because every 2 chapters was focused on one character. And you can see that when you go through it again. It's like, hey, the first chapter was the comedian, books 1 and 2. The second chapter, Night Owl.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Well, I wish you the best for this. now that I know about the book, we can start pushing it out there. I mean, I'll definitely share it out. And
I appreciate it. Every little bit helps.
yeah, need to get some eyes on it for sure. Um, so everybody, go look at The Devil You Know Better, signed to hardcover by Critical Blast. I mean, I just say by Critical Blast because they associate it with you. So
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean, I can tell you, and I'll make this real quick because I want to point this out. When I
yeah,
said I was looking for new writers, I really was looking for new writers, and I approached Mike
sure,
and I approached Hart and said, "Hey, would you guys be like the anchors of this thing?" Uh, and thankfully they said yes. Uh, but then when I sent it out, I was getting I've got one guy on here, Richard J. Brewer. I'm like, why do I know that name? I know the name Richard J. Brewer. Well, he sends in a short story. He gets his paltry little check. And he's getting his copy, and we had him on a live stream because we brought them all in.
sure.
And his bio, I'm like, I'm reading your bio. Why did you send a story into me? The guy's got a book series out called Culprits, which has just been turned into a Disney Plus series.
Oh
Uh,
wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, you could have done this, yourself, but
Yeah, but
we
it's part of it's just what I was talking about. It might be that creative, spark. You had the idea, and he was like, "Oh, what a great idea! I would love to write for a
that's
premise like
that's
that."
pretty much what he said. He's like,
Yeah,
I don't have a place for these things, so I look at the anthologies to find creative outlet to let this
yeah,
stuff out because otherwise, I'd have to find a novel to put it into or publish myself. We've got him. We've got Troy Reiser, who's been published in a number of places and has 2 stories coming up in Kursova magazine over the next 2 volumes that they're putting out. Um, Ray Zasek, who's got this wonderful Elvis Returns from the Dead story
sure.
called "Don't Be Cruel." So there's
Okay.
a plethora of
Yeah,
artists.
I think that sounds awesome. So, okay, well, I look forward to checking it out. I'm going to go in there and read about it some more. So, um, well, thank you for coming on the show. We
Thank you
usually
for
end
having me.
here like right around the hour, or we try to. Sometimes we don't, but we try to. And I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
this is
Well,
probably a good
we're
idea to keep it at the 9 o'clock hour.
we're not FCC regulated being podcasters.
Nah,
I've sometimes had to cut off at a half hour because we're done.
yeah,
And sometimes I had Bill Willingham on one time, and I looked up and we'd been talking for 2.5 hours.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I've done that before too, and that's not a problem. It's just there's times when I'm thinking, maybe we'd get more rewatches,
yeah,
if we were a little shorter. But
yeah. My
um,
4 hour stream with Hart and Lucifer Storm would probably get more rewatches if it wasn't.
that's exactly
Well, I
right.
don't know. It's 4 hours long. We woke Hart up at 1 in the afternoon for the stream, and by the end of the stream, woke him first thing out of bed, pouring a Jack and Coke,
Oh man.
and was on his 7th by the end of the stream.
Oh wow, man. Yeah, those will go down quick for
It was
sure.
wild. All right,
Um, so I'm going to just, oh, well, of course it
play
won't
us out.
open the way I want to. I'm just going to show our campaign really quick before we get out of here and just highlight that really fast. If it'll come up really fast, it's not really coming up for me very fast. So,
Are you in demand with this right now? Are you still funding?
yes, we are. We are in
Right on.
demand. We did meet our funding goal. Um, let me get that put up here. For some reason, Indiegogo keeps telling me to select an option. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay, there it is. So we got Ballad of the Celestials. Currently, we're at $3,075 with 94 backers. We are
Very
currently
nice.
in demand. And for those of you guys who have not seen this yet, most of you have. Um, we have 3 covers that you can get. This is the first team cover, and the one that I was highlighting earlier with a new imprint. I'm going to have to put that on the update. And it's a 30-page fantasy adventure set in the antediluvian era. We're going to follow 5 heroes as they clash with another clan or war party who are seeking out to destroy humanity. And which sets off a whole set of things that we then discover has a bigger plot than we thought. Of course, right? Have to go bigger.
Of course.
So we'll try to get down to the wraparound cover. I'm sorry, I'm scanning through a lot of art. There's the wraparound cover. And so, and then I already passed up the homage cover, which is homage to Mike Zeck's Wolverine versus Cap.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yep. And so there's our 3 covers, and get them for a pretty good deal, $15 for each, or $20 for the wraparound cover, and then we have the the perk of all 3 for $45. So
we need 6 more backers on this one, folks.
Yeah.
At least 6 more backers. Let's cross that century mark on the backer numbers.
Yeah, we were trying to get the same 100.
Yeah.
That everybody talks about. We're like, yeah, we don't know what that is, but okay, yeah, let's get to 100 backers. So, yeah, we'd appreciate it. So, RJ, tell us where we can find you. I'm going to go ahead and stop this now. And
we are at criticalblast.com, where you can find all the news and reviews about, comics, books, movies, music, celebrities. If it's entertainment, it's fair game for us to target. And on any social media platform, we are Critical Blast.
All right. That's awesome. So, by the way, Ballad of the Celestials is using Critical Blast for our campaign to distribute our book. So once we get all that printed up, we will be sending them your way.
And we thank you for your support.
Heck yeah, we thank you for the service. I think it's awesome. So how could we pass it up? So yeah, you can find Murph and I on Twitter. I think Murph is KJ Murphy at, I think it's at yahoo.com. And then I am, you can just type in DROK, D-R-O-K with me on Twitter, and you'll find us pretty easily. And then Murph and Dirk Duke It Out on YouTube, Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining in. And we'll just do a little end of the show right here.
Murph and Dirk and Dirk and Murph and Murph and Dirk and Dirk.
See you guys next week.